Hello everyone, this is Darker Joe, and today I'm going to be talking about the data mine for Laia. Well, Laia. So it's been released. So her information has been released. So her stat line, I already knew that her stat line was going to be Edward and Abigail stats because we saw yesterday when they previewed her, like saying that she's coming out next week. I saw that she was this stat line basically. So 117 base speed, 6200 health, 637 defense. So really solid stat line. And then her S1 is attacks the enemy with a sweet melody and increases the combo readiness of the caster by 15% when it's maxed. When the Spirit of Rock is unavailable due to cooldown count, triggers a dual attack from a random ally. Damage zone increases a portion of the caster's max health. So she is an HP scaling bruiser that pushes herself up by 15% on her S1 with a dual attack from a random ally if her S3 is on cooldown. Now, her S2 dispels all debuffs from all allies and increases the combo readiness by 25% for the team before decreasing the skill cooldowns of all allies except for the caster by 1. So her S2 pushes the team up by 25% and full cleanses them. And then it lowers their cooldown by 1, which means this unit is we finally have a counter to Lua and Nahkwol. Finally do. I'm going to send on text real quick, but so so basically we finally have an actual counter to Lua and Nahkwol, and it's actually done in a way that makes a unit not super broken. Now her S3 though attacks the enemy with I don't know if that's attacks the enemy with a base. I don't know. When the enemy is defeated, recovers the health of the caster and grants an extra turn. So, and then penetrates the target's defense and cannot trigger a critical hit. Amount recovered and damage dealt increases a portion of the caster's max health. Begins the first battle with full skill cooldown. So she starts off with 6-turn cooldown or S3. But then it says right here, and when this skill is unavailable due to cooldown count at the start of every turn, decreases all skill cooldowns by 1. So that means that when it's her turn, she lowers the cooldown of her abilities by 1. That counts for both her S2 and her S3, which means that if you face Nahkwol or face Lua and they reset her by 1 turn, it's her turn comes back around and it's going to immediately reset herself so that she can actually use her S2 right away. So you cannot reset her because she'll just lower her cooldown at the beginning of her turn. And then her artifact is increases max health by 10%, and at the start of the turn has a 100% chance to decrease debuff durations of the caster by 1 turn. Can only be actually once every 3 turns. So basically, if she's hit with like a 1-turn silence or a stun or a sleep, she's just immediately going to remove it. Kind of like how Meteor Choleric is. So basically, she has Hand Guy as an artifact and 10% additional health. So, really good. You cannot hit her. You can basically Nahkwol and Lua actually have a real counter now. Besides for like Fire Lilius, obviously was a counter, but that's an easy one to play around. Lua and Nahkwol can't really play around her. She even counters AOL too when you think about it, but that one she can play around though. Like AOL can play around that, but like. Yeah, like if AOL goes before her and hits the team with, and then uses S3, she's just immediately going to unsilence herself and then cleanse the whole team. That's why I'm feeling like you probably don't want her really fast. I mean, you can make her like 260, 270, 280 speed and then make her go right after, all those units and stuff. I think she's better at like a Hand Guy level speed, like 230 to 250. That's my opinion, because you kind of want to be slower than AOL. But then again, some AOLs are really slow, so you never know. It's kind of hard to see, though. But, yeah. And then her damage calculator was out here as well. So, before we do that, her modifiers right now. So, her S1, 10% scaling on her max health, whatever. Her S1 doesn't, her S1 can crit, so her S1 is not going to do damage anyways. You don't really care for the damage on the S1. It's just there for the CR push for herself and the random dual attack you get. So, her S3, 0.3, 1 POW, healing health scaling is 20% of her max health. And then if you soul burn it, it gets the same amount of attack and power, but her health scaling for her S3 becomes 32% max health. And either way, her health healing is the healing that she gets is still 30%, but she needs to kill a unit with her S3 to heal. So if she kills a unit, she gets an extra turn, and she heals for about a third of her health, which is really nice. So if you say you hit 30,000 health and you kill a unit, you get about 10,000 health heal, plus an extra turn. So like I said, so right here, I'm holding the gear on my general Purgus right now because I'm not using Purgus. So this is what I will be going with, and this is also with Abigail holding on to Durandal, which is a bit less health than the artifact. So if I had her artifact on it, it's an extra 200 health about. Plus, if I actually have her artifact, it's an additional 10% of that. Plus, if I go for triple S, which I'm going to try to get her triple S. But yeah, this is what I'm looking at. If I get her triple S, her artifact, max imprint as well, I can hit almost 32k HP, I think. Because triple S is another like almost 1200 health, so we're talking like almost 29,000 plus the 10% from her artifact, so we're thinking like 31,500, I think. 31k HP. Solid defense. Decent speed. Like I said, I don't want to go crazy speed because I don't want to go before their debuffers or before their like AOL. But I do want her to be faster than my usual units, though. I mean, the only units I use that are generally faster than Laia right at this point would be like if I was to use Rose, I might have to skip my turn on Rose, which it's whatever. But yeah, 240 speed, it's faster than my general DPS units, my other units that I would use. So pretty much what I use. So like I said, almost 32,000 health. So if I put that down right here, let's say 31k, right? Let's just say I only get 31k. Defense doesn't matter. It literally does not change her S3 damage. So if you're fighting Arius, right? They have Arius, 31,000 health. Her S3 is doing 13,000 or 20,000 on Soulburn. This is through Arius. And again, nothing else is on here. There's no artifact. I mean, besides for her own artifact, which doesn't increase her damage. There's no like attack or torrent or pen or whatever. It's just straight up 30. It's just 13,000 on non-Soulburn or 20,000 on Soulburn. Now, if they have escort, it's a little bit less, but 11.5 or 17.8. Still, it's still not bad considering that she's kind of your supportive unit that has a good nuke damage right here. That's going to help. That's going to keep lowering down her own cooldowns, and then eventually lower down her allies' cooldowns. And before people say, because I know I've seen some people saying this right here. Okay, and when the skill is unavailable due to cooldown at the start of every turn, decreases all skill cooldowns by 1. Now, people are saying like, oh, that means your allies and your enemies' turns are going to decrease her cooldowns too. I'm like, no, because that's kind of similar to what Jecht's wording is in a way. Dispel 1 debuff inflicted on an ally at the beginning of each turn. Each turn, every turn, it's kind of similar, so I'm assuming it works the same way as Jecht, which is only their turn. Jecht only cleanses 1 debuff on his turn, so I'm assuming that Leia's only going to lower her own cooldowns by 1 turn on her turn. Otherwise, if it was literally every turn, with enemy's turn and ally's turn, then she is insanely broken because she could basically just S3 almost every turn. So, yeah. Basically, no, it's going to be every one of her turn. Even so, that's still very, very good, especially when her S3, if she kills a unit, she gets another turn, so it helps her with scaling that. As far as artifacts go, what artifacts you would use? So artifacts you can use would be like, you could use Guided Decision isn't terrible because it gives you a little more bulk, it gives you a CR push, and it gives you a it gives you a barrier, it gives you a little bit of CR push as well. So I can see that. I'm just saying these are artifacts you can use if you don't go for her own artifact, which I still think is easily her best in slot. But if you don't go for her own artifact, you can go for stuff like Guided Decision isn't terrible. Proof of Valor is always a good artifact on almost anyone who you want to be tanky, so you could always do that. Warhorn is pretty decent too, giving you more supportive by giving your allies attack and then getting pushed up. Pretty solid. As far as, I don't know if there's any other. Oh yeah, Music Box isn't terrible because if you're going fast, you're gonna have extra turn. You're gonna have turns, and then if you S3, you get extra turns. So you could do Music Box. Technically, you could do Proof of Portrait, but it's like, I don't know if you really want that. If you're going to go for damage, you probably go for her own artifact. Cause I think the extra like 2,000 or 3,000 health you get from her own artifact might be better than the extra 16% damage off of this. Or what? It was 20%, I think, right? Yeah, 20%. So maybe. Other fun ones I think you can do though is Butterfly Mandolin. I actually have Butterfly Mandolin right now on my Tamarine, and like it's funny because someone who needs to like scale up and like lower their own cooldowns like this, Butterfly Mandalin's actually kind of fun. You could hit 8% chance to be granted an extra turn when it's your turn again. So basically, you take your turn, you get an extra turn right after that. So it's actually not bad because it could proc off getting hit by like a counter attack, especially with the amount of AoE that's going on right now. So it allows you to also scale, it lets quickly go through your S3 cooldowns and stuff and your S2. Because you think about it, you get one lowered cooldown your turn, right? And then you end your turn, that's one also down. So let's say your S3 is at 6 turn cooldown, you get hit and this procs. Your turn comes in, let's say you S2, you push your team up, and then you get an extra turn because Butterfly Mandolin proc, and then you do your turn. Then boom, your S3 now has a 2-turn cooldown on your very first turn. So it only takes you like 2 turns to wait for it. It's a fun thing you could do. I still think her artifact is better. Another one you can also do is let's go back to Candlestick. 40% chance to reduce your cooldowns by 1, which is already good. Which is when you're already lowering down your cooldowns by 2 basically every turn. So this actually isn't terrible on her too. So if you have Candlestick and you don't know who else to put it on, because after that whole Avera situation, and you're like, I don't know who to put it on, you could put it on her. And then Warriors, though, maybe Border Coin's not bad if you want the extra speed. Creation and Destruction would be huge. It would be super fun. 20% chance to be granted skill cooldown, reset basically. So imagine if you S3, you kill a unit, and it procs, and then so you get an extra turn because your S3 gives you an extra turn when you kill a unit, and then you S3 again. Just like S3 extra turn, S3 extra turn. So it can be really fun, especially getting if your S2 gets your S2 gets reset by this too. That'd be really good too. So actually, Creation Destruction is probably really, really strong. Durandal's very good too. Getting that CR push when you're getting low health type of thing. That's not bad. You could do maybe Sigurd or not Golden Rose. Maybe Golden Rose wouldn't be terrible. Like like a sustain artifact isn't the worst because you could heal off the S3. But you already heal off the S3. But I mean that would be a huge heal. Elspeth isn't like the worst because you're obviously gonna be an HP scaling unit, so you're gonna have a lot of health, and then like you're gonna be a lot of speed as well. So as you're getting low health, you're getting up to 50% extra speed and 50% extra attack, which again isn't crazy, but it does add a little more damage to you. But at least the 50% speed is pretty huge. So say you're like 280 speed or something like that, and you have like 25k HP, and you're like half health type. You're like very low health. It's like, well, I just got 50% additional speed, and then now I'm at like 400 something speed. So you could do that, but I still think the best is her own artifact or Proof of Valor. But like those 3-star options are also really fun too. Anyways, I'm really, really, really happy with the way that she is. She's gonna be so much fun. I definitely gonna try to pull. I'm gonna probably do I'm most likely gonna do a video for her. I'm gonna try to get as much bookmarks and Skyzone as I can before next week, and I'm gonna try to pull as much as I can. I want to triple S her and her artifact. I'm even gonna probably plus 15 her too. Definitely maxing her S2 and S3 for sure. Her S1, I don't know. But yeah, very, very happy with her. I cannot wait till next week it comes out. Until then, I actually want to make this video for once not super long. But yeah, basically that is what she does. Very, very good. She counters Lua. She counters Nahkwol. She can counter AOL. AOL can just hold S3 though, so that's the only thing. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. AOL can play around her. But like Nahkwol and Lua, if they're not S3ing and not resetting your team, they're basically useless. You can't seal her too because her cleanse right here isn't a passive. She doesn't have a passive. So seal means nothing to her. And assuming she's faster than your average, than most of your team, then even getting hit, then your team getting hit by bind is going to be a big of a deal too, because you're just an S2 and cleanse it off anyways. So, and you obviously in your S2 obviously gets rid of the reset they get. So they, Lua and Nahkwol cannot do anything to either one of them. The only thing that can happen is like if you're hit with a 2-turn silence, 2-turn sleep, 2-turn stun, which isn't common in the meta right now. There are units that do that, obviously. Stuff like Wanda has a 2-turn stun, Winter has a 2-turn stun, but it's not they're not common enough to even worry about. So the only issue you have is if they hold their debuffs into the next turn after your artifact procced, I guess. But I mean, that's fine. If you force Lua or Nahkwol not to do their abilities for one turn, and then you just S2 and push your team up, and you can potentially kill the rest of their team, then it's huge. That's why I'm like, yeah, if you force AOL not to hit you with the silence at the beginning of the turn, you can potentially just kill her before that happens. So Laia's gonna be really, really good. Definitely a must pull. On top of the fact she's a limited anyways, but even so. Yeah, I will see you guys next video, and next week I'll see you guys for my summoning video for her as well.